So you think starting a business will ruin your marriage?
Fact check. Untrue. This is a myth. And that's what we're talking about today. Welcome to the Couplepreneur podcast. I'm Adam.
And I'm Maggie.
And we are on a mission to help 1,000 couples build $1 million online businesses. We're on that journey ourselves, and we're sharing everything we learn along the way on this podcast and our newsletter. Check that out at adamandmaggie.com. Today we are talking about this myth that marriage and business don't mix. So
Exactly.
We've all heard the warning. Business brings too much stress, too much sacrifices, and too many couples don't make it. But here's what no one's talking about. What if business isn't a threat to your relationship, but an advantage? The advantage.
I love it.
Yes. Most people believe you have to choose between a thriving business or a strong relationship. The problem isn't business. It's how we choose to structure it. Most entrepreneurs approach it as solopreneurs, keeping business and marriage separate, struggling to balance both. But couplepreneurs play a different game. Mm-hmm. For couplepreneurs, integrating business and marriage makes us both stronger.
Yeah.
And this is, we say marriage, but it also could be relationships.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Whatever. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think this just hit home for us, like this topic. Because it's something that you hear all the time, that don't mix the two, your marriage will suffer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we see it as the exact opposite, as our superpower, as our advantage. By coming together, we leverage our relationship.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, as we were talking about it and thinking about it even further, you had a really good way of explaining kind of the steps, like the life design piece, that it's not even necessarily about building a business together. It's really about building a life together.
Yeah. And
how our marriage is actually enhanced because we've decided to build a business together.
Yeah. It's like it makes us stronger.
Yeah.
And makes our business stronger because we're in a relationship. So let's dive into those myths today.
Yeah.
And we'll start with myth number 1. You have to separate business from your relationship to keep it strong. What do you think?
Yeah.
True?
False.
When you combine business, here's what we believe. When you combine business and your relationship with a clear vision, you actually strengthen both.
Yeah.
And that's what you're talking about there with this idea of kind of lifestyle design. So what I like to think is create a clear vision together of what you want your life to be, what you want it to look like. And then within that, you find how the relationship, fits within there and supports that ultimate outcome of life that you both want. Mm-hmm. And then you define the business that supports that lifestyle that you want.
Yeah.
And if you can have that clarity of vision, it creates a really incredibly strong foundation for the business that you create, the relationship, and then that ultimately leads to the outcome, the life that you want. And that's something that we've kind of been toying with as we're entering this new world of building an online business, is that having that clear vision is so important.
Right.
Because before we had that sense of clarity and it was a little bit of, well, we could do this or we could do this, it made it hard to know what direction to go and even how to like move forward. That's the couplepreneurship. The whole idea of it came out of this concept of, let's get clear on what it is that we're actually trying to do.
Right. Right. And it just made me think of even when, I think in our society, a lot of times, like we get together with another person and we don't think through all of these things. Like we don't think about what is the life that we're trying to build together and what does that look like? And I think oftentimes we just don't take the space to do that. Yeah. And it's like, hey, I like you. Let's do life together. And then I think that that's where a lot of problems arise, is because we don't think about, what do we actually want? Mm-hmm. We're both mixing our lives. Yeah. So why not have a clear vision of where we want to go? Well,
and then throw a business on top of that. It's right.
Let's
also then like build, this business.
Yeah.
And if without that clarity of vision, I think you miss an opportunity. And that opportunity is to take advantage of the fact that you're in a relationship,
Yeah.
your goals and your outcomes are truly aligned.
Yeah.
They can be truly aligned in a way that they can't be with almost anyone else in your life.
Yeah.
No one cares more about your success than the person whose success is tied to your success. Like you guys are moving together in life.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a cool way of
I think there's also another piece of that too, where the business that we are building is also, we want to build a business that supports our freedom.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
It's not just to do it for the sake of doing it. It's to build a life of freedom. And so the business supports our life and supports that. And so there's a different way of even looking at business that we have kind of
let's
landed
double
on.
click on that for a second, because when we were identifying what life we wanted to build, one of the key factors that we both felt very strongly about was creating some sort of like location and time independent income.
Right.
And that's why we landed on starting online business.
Yeah.
Right. We wanted to leverage the power of the internet for distribution to have a greater effect while still giving us the ability to work from anywhere and to utilize this new technology that's kind of, I mean, that's here.
Yeah.
It's like, why not take advantage of this incredible opportunity that we have? And so when we use that as our litmus test is, does this business support that goal? Does this business support that goal? Does this business? It helped us identify what type of business we wanted to, and then to work in and operate in. And then, just made sure that we were on the same page, because when we have challenges that arise in those businesses or as a result of choosing an online business, like we're both in it. We're like, no, this is cool. Like we can work through this. We can,
Yeah. And I think we've also worked through this piece of opportunity vehicle. And, you know, so it's like when we think about that, as when we first got married and we were first starting out, I think we did have our values aligned. And so we, you know, urban farming sounded so fun at the time. You know what I mean? And it was a really great stepping stone, like into the world of entrepreneurship. But as we went, we just both realized like, oh, this isn't necessarily the right opportunity vehicle that we were kind of looking for. I mean, it was a chapter, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
And so as we've continued to grow and as we've continued to build our life, we've started to think of it in terms of that. Like, is this the right opportunity vehicle that we want to utilize that builds the type of freedom that we're searching for?
Yeah. You know? I mean, we had a lot of time freedom with the farm.
Right.
Because we could decide when to work, how much to work, what we wanted to work on. So a lot of autonomy there. But you're absolutely tied to a physical location when you're growing vegetables in the ground. Whereas
you're tied to labor.
Yeah. You know? Yeah. You're tied to, like, it takes a certain amount of input in order to get the output. And so one of the cool things that we have discovered and are learning more and more about using the internet is that you have the ability through creativity and through technology to disassociate your input versus your output equation. So you put in X number of input doesn't mean you get X out. It means that you can actually get, you know, X times 1,000 out.
Right.
And that's really, and you can do that from anywhere, right?
Yeah.
We can travel. You know, we have this dream of like working in a hut in Bali, and you're just like on your laptop, like working away.
Let me send this email. Yeah.
As long as we have an internet connection, we can like make this business run.
Yeah.
And you know, we have kids and we have life, and so we have to balance all of those things. But yeah, recognizing that, and all that came through, I guess, bringing it back to the myth, all of that came through setting that clear vision and that clear intention from the beginning. Yeah. Because if we didn't have that, if we were just like, let's start a business, you know, I think a lot of times the stress and struggle comes from frustrations with your opportunity vehicle not aligning with the outcomes that you want.
Yeah.
Not the fact that it's your wife or partner in the mix.
Right.
And so it's because I'm frustrated because I can't travel.
Yeah.
Because I have this business that requires me to be in this physical location day after day, month after month. And so I take it out on my wife or whatever, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah. And so it's just like, no, you just need to, you know, build systems so that you can actually separate from the business operation itself.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway. I love that. That's cool. Clarity of vision. So, question for you. You have to separate business from your relationship to keep it strong.
False.
False.
I see a theme happening.
Yeah. Myth number 2, mixing business and marriage creates more problems than it solves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It does create problems.
Yeah.
But not more problems.
Not more problems.
Yeah. So here's the truth. Here's what we believe. When you leverage your relationship, you create a competitive advantage that solopreneurs don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And solopreneurs, it could be entrepreneurs, but basically when you're working isolated from your spouse, you're missing an opportunity.
Yeah.
It's not a detriment to have your spouse. It's actually an advantage. So tell me about this advantage. What happens when you mix marriage and business?
Yeah. I think it's also just, it's a mindset shift in how you're thinking about your relationship. Instead of this thing that you have to balance or, make sure that the business doesn't come between you or whatever. It's like, I love thinking about it being our superpower and our advantage, and that it's not something that you have to go at it alone or I have to go at it alone, or that we have to just like make sure that it's separate so that it doesn't interfere. It's that we can support each other in that. And then we actually grow as a couple. It's like even through the challenges, through the things that are hard, we're there for each other in those times. And by doing those hard things, that actually makes our relationship better. We have to learn how to communicate better. We have to learn how to like look for creative things and so like find solutions that work for our life and for the business and for the family and for what we're building, and think creatively about how we're using our time and schedule. Like we're not just like, oh, this is your thing. It's like, oh, this is our thing. And if you're having a hard day or if I'm having a hard day, like we're there for each other. And that just feels really, really cool and really good.
I think just having someone who actually knows what you're going through is such a big part of it.
Yeah.
And it does mean that when there are dips, you're both in the dip.
Yeah.
You can't have someone else
like,
thriving in their business while yours is struggling. So there is a challenge there, but it means that you have someone alongside you who's like, nah, I get it. And as long as you can then balance like, hey, we may be in a hard time right now, but like I'm going to hold some space for you to like feel your feels and whatnot. It gives you an opportunity to like really connect. Like it's easy to empathize with someone when you're feeling the same thing.
I know. And I think it's so cool because a lot of the time we are in a relationship because we want somebody else to witness our life and to be there with us in it. And I think it's so easy to just get caught in that trap of like, okay, we get married, you do your life, I do my life. We kind of do it alongside each other. Like that's fun. But it's a different connection that you have when you're like, oh wow, we're like in this.
Yeah. Like
together. Like I'm going to start crying. Like
99% of our day is spent right next to each other. You don't even have that, 8 to 5 or whatever out and about. But that's the opportunity. That's the life that when we looked at our life, what we wanted to have, like that was a big part of it, was like the ability to like move through the world together.
Yeah.
And that's not for everybody. That's what's so cool about couplepreneurship, I would say, is like, we look at it as an advantage.
Yeah.
But we're not saying that every business has to be run by couples.
Oh my God.
We're not saying that everyone needs to be in a relationship and to start a business.
Exactly.
It's just that if you're in a relationship, don't immediately discount the fact that your partner might be the best business partner that you could ever ask for.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you use the right tools, techniques, and mindset, that kind of thing.
I know. I think so too. I think there's something that everybody is different, but I also think that there's something when you hear it, you know it, and you're like, that's me. Or like, that's us as a couple. Like we want to do that together.
Yeah.
And
so we're calling all of you out
to
there.
not discount that. Yeah.
Join us on this adventure of building businesses together with your partner.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
It's so fun.
It's fun.
I just feel like it's just so cool. I just feel like it deepens our relationship in such a cool way. I wouldn't have it any other way.
And it means that when I get my location and time independent income, turns out
I do too.
You do too. And so we're not going to be held to your schedule when I want to be on a hut in Bali,
We'll both be able to do it together.
Sure.
Oh my word, that's hilarious.
So mixing business and marriage creates more problems than it solves, Maggie? False? False. Very good.
Love it.
Man, we are busting myths today.
Yeah, we are.
Myth number 3. Actually, this is our last myth. And then we can
myth number 3.
Do a little wrap up. So myth number 3, working with your spouse means constant conflict. You'll argue about everything. What do you think?
I think it's a myth. And I think it's like I said earlier, there's going to be challenges. But I think if you go into it worried or even having a little bit of belief surrounding that, oh my gosh, we're going to fight all the time. It's like, we can't be scared of that, because then you're missing out on this beautiful opportunity and this beautiful thing to see what could be just because, you're afraid of like arguing.
It reminds me, and this is something that we say a lot, is like you choose your hard.
Yeah.
Life's hard.
Yeah.
There's hard things about life. You just have to pick your hard.
Yes.
And you pick your hard. And then on the other side of that hard is the dream outcome.
Yeah.
And so you can do what you think is going to be easy.
Yeah.
But that leads to a life that's just not as exciting.
Like dynamic.
Yeah, and dynamic. And we wanted a bigger life, so we chose this hard. And that hard is sometimes, having some difficulty, working together.
Yeah.
The truth actually that we came to, and I think this is really interesting to bring up, is when you leverage each other's strengths, you eliminate unnecessary friction and work as a team instead of against each other.
Yeah.
And that was really the idea of finding each other's strengths.
Yeah.
Like you're good at certain things, I'm good at certain things.
Yeah.
And then giving each other the trust and grace to like you own your area of expertise and I own my area of expertise. And so it's just a little bit less like of stepping on each other's toes.
Yeah. And then it really does feel like when we embody that, we are on the same team. Like we are not working against each other or like even against our strengths in a way. Or like you own this, I own this. Like how dare you meddle in my area of expertise? It's like, we're on the same team.
Yeah.
Please give me pointers on how I could do this better.
True.
And I will give you pointers on how you could do that better. And it's like, because we're on the same team, we both are so excited about making something wonderful. So it's like, our ego is out of it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, whatever.
I have a hard time taking my ego out of it, but I'm working on that. I am working on that. That is
I just think it's
an opportunity to improve.
Yeah. I just think it's cool. It's like that reminder, like we are on the same team. We're working towards the same goal. And ultimately, it's fun because the same goal is our life.
Yeah.
The business supports our life. And it's such a good check then, always. And then business, I think, becomes really fun.
Yeah, it is recognizing, kind of circling all the way back to like that, the tiered effect there, where the goal is identifying what type of life that you want and then recognizing your relationship within that life that you've identified, and then finding the business and structuring the business so that it supports all of that. And keeping that in mind that, business comes last, if you will. Yeah. But in a way, it's also the most important because it's what facilitates the life that you want. But if you aren't intentional about building that business, I think relationships get the bad rap because it's like you just built a crappy business, man. Sorry, bro.
Well, and okay, this is so interesting. Like, I just kind of thought of this right now about how I've always kind of heard that business is all about relationships.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hear that
and so, like you hear that, and it is. And so when you think about business is all about relationships, it's like, well, what's the most important relationship that you have? I mean, if you have a significant other, it's like that is one of your most important relationships.
Yeah.
And so it's like, why not either like hold it really high or bring it into it, because the way that we treat other people is we're working with other people and we're trying to solve their problems and see them and hear them. It's like, what better person to practice all of those skills with than your spouse?
Yeah.
And
then if you can get those skills down, then your relationship will also be better.
Yeah.
Your marriage will be better.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. So those were the 3 myths that we wanted to touch on today.
Yeah.
And apparently they're all busted. Like these are just...
We just busted through
busting those myths.
Yeah.
This may or may not be the 3rd time we're recording this today. So like
it's all her fault.
We're getting better at...
all her fault.
At busting myths. So yeah, starting a business will not ruin your marriage. Because it doesn't have to pull couples apart. It can actually bring them closer together. And that's the idea behind couplepreneurship is it does mean that you have to be intentional about the business that you construct within that relationship.
Yeah.
But when done right, and what we're hoping that we can accomplish right is that it will support both, bring you together, and help you live the life that you want, right? However you define that.
Yeah.
And so if we were to kind of cycle back through there, it's the clarity of vision sets the strong foundation for your life and relationship.
Yeah.
So like getting really clear on your foundation or on your vision will immediately set you on the right path of building that life that you actually want.
Right. And I think in turn it helps you to live a life with more intention, with more focus. I had never thought of this before until we had watched some guy's YouTube channel about, he was like, run your family like a business.
Yeah.
And at first you're like, wait, what? And then you're like, oh, that's genius. Like you have a little family unit and we don't think about running our family with intention and, defining our core values, which every business has, but you don't necessarily think about that for your family, like how important that is to like have little family meetings and like things like that. It was just an interesting concept that I was like, it helps us get focused and crystal clear, like we said, crystal clear about what we are wanting out of life, what our intentions are. Anyway.
Yeah, I love it. Okay. And then clarity of vision. Oh yeah, we did that. So building together is better than struggling alone.
Yeah.
I just like that one.
Me too.
Yeah. It's better with a team.
It's better to struggle together.
No, it's better to struggle together.
No, just kidding.
Well, that was the idea is like, I'm having a hard time. Like, hey, come down here in this hole with me and then let's just hang out together.
Yeah. And I think it's cool though, because like we remind each other like, hey, we're here, we're doing this because we want to thrive. And so it is really cool how we get to remind each other all the time. It's like, we want to live a life of thriving. So that's why we're doing this. Yep. Even if it's hard, that's why we're doing this. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
Your relationship is your advantage. And that just kind of goes back to leveraging each other's strengths. There's 2 of you that are like ultimately aligned on the success of this business venture and relationship. And if you can identify each other's strengths, give each other opportunity to shine in those strengths, but then, keep your ego out of it and be open to hearing and learning from the other person as well.
Yeah.
It just sets up for a really good foundation for something cool. And we talk, a lot of times we talk as if we are experts in this field. Like these are insights that we are gaining daily and forgetting daily. And reminding ourselves of daily.
Yeah.
But that's why we've made this pivot to couplepreneurship and to the Couplepreneur podcast in terms of we want to identify what is working in building a business with your spouse, what could be improved upon, and then how we can help others and then learn from others. So building a community. So that's our call to action today is join us on this journey, this adventure of building a $1 million online business. Yeah. You follow along with us, but also we're on a mission to help 1,000 other couples. And I did the math. 1,000 couples at $1 million business. That's $1 billion.
That's so cool.
We're going to build $1 billion
Adam, I did the math.
Conglomerate.
I did the math, okay?
So if you want to be one of those couples, if you either have a couple and you guys are in a relationship and have a business, an online business, get in touch. Like, you're our people. If you're thinking about starting a business with your spouse, do it. Like, this is so much fun. And that's one of the things that we're going to start working on is some tools and resources for how to identify what your core strengths are, how to even think about starting a business with a couple, as a couple, because there's some lessons that we've learned that it would be helpful if you if you didn't make the same mistakes we did.
Right.
And then we also want to start reaching out to some other couples. So if you're a couple in a business, we would love to have a conversation with you and maybe showcase you on the podcast so we can teach other people about, from your experience and see cool things that are happening with you. So we've got a couple of couples in the pipeline that we're going to hopefully sit down with and have some really fun conversations and see what it is, because I think there's something here.
I do too.
This idea of building a business with your spouse. And like I said, we're really focused on the online space because it's the greatest leverage. We're looking for opportunities to facilitate a business with zero marginal cost for reproduction. Let me get very specific on the type of business structure that we're getting into.
I love it.
So,
I love it.
But if you want to reach out, you can also follow us on LinkedIn, is where we're probably most active. You can just search for me, Adam Pounds, Maggie Pounds. And we'll go from there. So we're kind of, wrapping this one up. Just basically, we want to see more partners building together, growing together, and winning together.
Yeah.
So
basically, we believe in couples and we think that they're awesome.
And it's a really fun life. It is very fun.
Yeah.
There's challenges, but it is super fun.
It's so cool.
All right. Well, that's it for today. Here's the 3 myths. Sign up for the newsletter at adamandmaggie.com and grab this past newsletter and then all of our future ones. We'll go from there.
Bye.
Bye.